we're still in the beginning of the new year, and people are always looking for ways to get back on top financially. And New Year's resolutions, I've heard a lot of people talk about their finances or getting in shape. And according to the White House, Americans are ranking saving money right up with losing weight and quitting smoking for their 2014 New Year's resolution. So we have Dominique Moore, the VP of Las Vegas-based National Financial Planning Powerhouse Appreciation It's been a while. Appreciation Financial, who is available to talk about New Year's financial resolutions. And just for our listeners, Dom, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I just want to let our listeners know that you are the Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer and co-founder of Appreciation Financial. You started this organization in May of 2008 with your partner and president and few key leaders. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Let me first say, shame on you for bagging on us out here in the East. I happen to be in Texas, and it is extremely cold right now.
What part of Texas are you in?
I'm actually in Houston.
Yeah, that's where my family's from, in Houston. Yeah, they said it's supposed to be dropping down. I just got off the phone with somebody in Houston. It's supposed to be dropping down really low. Yeah.
Well, you know what's funny about Houston is they actually usually have pretty good weather. So they I don't know if you guys remember a few years back when we had some snow in Vegas.
Yes.
And because we're not used to having snow and bad weather, they closed the school down like the day after the snow. so they kind of do the same thing here. It's like, bad weather's coming. It's going to get icy and cold tonight. And then the next day they shut the airport down, and there's no ice to be found. I mean, a couple icicles here and there, but it's really not.
What do they do? Shut Hobby down and Bush Continental down too as well?
Oh, they shut them both down last week when I was here. They shut the schools down today. I mean, yes, it was a little cold. There was some ice, but not quite that bad. But hey, it's a day off for most people, so they like that.
Yeah, especially down there. Yeah, I know. It is what it is.
So, Dom, is it okay if we call you Dom, or do you prefer Dominique?
Absolutely. Dom works just fine.
All right. So I understand that your focus is to help those save money for retirement or save more if they haven't started. I mean, if they've already been saving, pay off debts and spend less money. How do we do that?
Well, our motto, as we say it, is we like to help people make and save money, and everybody likes to do that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest key, right now, it's obviously January. We're getting towards the end, just like, MC was talking about is,
we're losing you. Dom, you're fading.
Are you guys there? Can you hear me now?
Yes, Verizon, we can hear you now.
Okay. I apologize about that. Like I was saying, and the MC was saying, the New Year's resolutions are so important right now, and right about this time is where we do start to fade out. Just so you know, I did my T25 workout just before I got on the call, so I haven't faded yet on my New Year's resolution. And as you said, Ms. Please, saving ranks right up there with getting our physical health in order, stopping smoking, and those kinds of things. And really, the biggest key is to start, by taking a look at where you're at, financially. And the first step really is start to pay off debt. I always think of it this way: what we really want most in life is liberty,
right?
Freedom, right? And the only way I know to get freedom or liberty is to lessen obligation. If all we are is the middleman between our creditors and our employer, there's no freedom and obligation. As soon as we get a check, we got to give it to the creditor over here. That's obligation. That's not freedom. And so paying off that debt is one of the first ways to create financial independence for yourself and your family.
Yeah, we were talking about that last week on the show about taking care of your credit score and your debt that you have. And one thing that I've always wanted everyone to know: when's the last time someone looked at their credit report and saw what kind of negative things are on it, if they had any judgments on there? And I gave addresses and phone numbers. I didn't give addresses, but I gave phone numbers and web addresses for the three major credit bureaus here in the United States. Basically, what do you feel is more important in the financial saving?
As far as credit is great. Don't get me wrong, but to me, I always, I remember coming up, and you guys probably remember this too. When we came up, credit was something called layaway. Like you had to pay it off first.
Yes.
You couldn't buy something, stink it up, and then still owe on it. You actually had to work hard, pay it off, and then you could go get that bomber jacket. And if you did grow up in the Midwest like I did, you better hurry up and pay it off. Or you'll be sweating in April and May trying to flash and shine because you didn't pay off your bomber jacket in time. But, so credit is great. But, man, we need to get to the point where we think about saving money and saving money to the point where even before you buy a house, this is real, just so you guys understand. I know individuals who have saved up enough money to buy their home cash.
Oh, yeah, that happens a lot here in Vegas.
There's nothing wrong with waiting. There's nothing wrong with renting. There's plenty of individuals that buy their cars cash and save up enough money to do so and not pay all the millions and thousands of dollars that we pay in interest.
Right, but the downfall from that, though, Don, that I've heard, though, because I've been in that quagmire situation as too well, I understand it's very nice to save that money, because I'm one of those. I'm a true advocate of that. I like buying stuff cash straight out too, though. But here's the thing, though: if you don't have just a little bit of credit, it makes you look somewhat weird, though. Because if you want to go get something, I don't care what it is, some things you just want to finance. So they recommend now you just get one revolving credit card. Do you agree on that?
Oh, absolutely. There has to be a healthy balance between all of it. I don't say you have to be an extremist one way or the other. I just like talking about it because so much we put out there about our credit. The same thing in my world when it comes to saving for retirement. We put out there the stock market. People have been sold this bill of goods that the only way that they can save money is in the stock market, and yet they don't play by the same rules anymore. Companies can go out there and lose millions of dollars, and we as investors, holding a stock, get left holding the bag, if you will, while these guys walk away with golden parachutes and the likes, and the value of the stock goes down. So we have to look at different things. I mean, I have two grandmothers in their 90s with 6 and 7 figure nest eggs, and neither one of them invested in more than CDs. Slow and steady wins the race. So starting to put money away on a regular basis is extremely important. I fly every week, and when you get on the plane, they do the little safety presentation in the beginning. And the gal says if cabin pressure were to drop, there's going to be a mask that comes down. And if you're traveling with somebody, who do they tell you to put the mask on first? Yourself, right? I know you guys remember that. They always say if you're traveling with somebody, you put the mask on yourself, because if you lose breath, if you lose consciousness while you're trying to put the mask on your kids who are maybe going a little crazy, getting a little wild, you'll pass out, right? And so many times we're out there attempting to, worry about, maybe a house, worry about, financing a wedding, worry about even financing our kids' college funds, and yet financially ourselves, we're weak. We don't have 3, 6, 12 months worth of income in the bank. There's no real job security out there anymore, guys. We've learned that, if anything, over these last 8, 10 years, companies come and go. And so we've got to have money in the bank to sustain us in tough times. We need to have savings in our savings accounts and our savings vehicles that are for the long haul, not these put and take programs that many of us have where we put some in, as soon as something comes out, we take some out. It has to be something that is long-term that we know that we're going to keep, and then we have to have those emergency funds that are ready, because we'll never be able to help our kids and teach them about becoming financially strong if we don't get financially strong ourselves.
So let me ask you, Dom, if someone is trying to get started, or they have something that they started a while back and they want to grow, where should they start?
Okay, well, a couple things to start with. One, like I said in the beginning, pay off debt. A couple tools that we give people, there's different vehicles out there you can use. One of the tools that I recommend to clients all the time, it's free and it's easy to find. Mint.com is a website out there that people can go to. Mint is a financial software that you can use to balance your budget. So you can build a budget, and you can put it actually reconciles. You know how all of us do our online banking today,
right?
And we can see where our money goes. It actually downloads your bank statement from online. It can't move your money or any of that, but it can reconcile it, and it actually starts to categorize your spending. And so we have so much money that's leaking through the cracks. You know, I ask clients all the time, well, how much do you spend on entertainment? You know, going out, going to movies, going to restaurants. And so many times they'll tell me $200. And I get it. I even thought that I didn't spend that much. I remember when my wife and I first did it, I said, okay, you know, we do okay. I said, we're going to give ourselves an $800 a month budget. That's $200 a week that we can go to the movies, go out and have drinks, and you know, do whatever we want, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know in the first weekend we had spent $500?
Wow.
In the first week, $500 on going out eating. Now, one of them was at a pumpkin patch, and I'm telling you, those free pumpkin patches are the devil. They're not free. But we had taken the kids there. But the bottom line was, you know what was really good about it, though, is that we were able to see that. And you know what we spent the rest of the month?
What?
$300. We stayed within our budget. Because we were watching it, guess what? We went to the movies, you know, each weekend and had a drink or two. We didn't get crazy with it, okay? And we stayed within our budget. And what I find is that most people, if they'll just start to track what they're spending with a real budget software or tool, or actually really watching their money, counting what they're spending every week, they'll save on average 10 to 20% right there. Now you think about that. If the household's bringing in, you know, say $4,000 or $5,000 a month, and you save 10%, that's $500.
Right.
20% is $1,000. $1,000 that you now have to put into your savings.
So I have a question, because some of our listeners have asked this question. Lately, everyone's being hit with not child support. They've been hit with student loans.
Yeah.
And student loans aren't forgiving. And they're not like they were back in the day, just saying, hey, pay $50 until it's paid off. Student loans are now coming back with vengeance. They are asking for some people close to $900 a month to pay off student loans. So when you say pay off debt, things like this stand out. And they're wondering, how do you put a dent in a student loan in addition to trying to save money, raise a family, pay off other credit cards, in addition to if someone has a car payment and their rent? How do you manage this? Because that's realistic.
Absolutely. That's a great question. It's a dilemma that we face today. You know, it was just a couple years ago, that student debt actually surpassed credit card debt in our nation. And so it's a very, very real problem. It's a very real challenge that we face because, you know, we've now made education a business. And and so it's important, though, that, you know, a lot of the software that's out there that I was talking about, the debt and budget management software, many of them will have what they call a roll down feature, or debt roll up or debt roll down, where you can actually start to create scenarios and you put in your different debts and your income and what you bring in, and it'll slowly and surely, you know, it'll ask the credit, you know, the interest that you're being charged on each one of your obligations, and then it'll give you a scenario on which ones to pay down first. So still making your regular payments, still making your minimum, but then attacking one at a time, you know? Mm-hmm. So if we found there, just like I said, if we found an extra $500 or $1,000 in our budget, what we're going to want to do is take one of those, you know, obligations or debts that is easiest to pay off or has the highest interest especially, and start to pay that down first. Start to pay that down first, because so many people, you know, they're paying $300, $400, $500 a month towards their credit cards, or maybe that car payment you talked about. They're paying, you know, $400, $500 on that car payment, and they only owe, you know, $6,000 or $7,000. And if we went in there and because they managed their budget, they actually found an extra $500 or $1,000 in their budget, now they could have that car paid off in the next 6 to 10 months. Well, that's an extra $5,000-$6,000 a year, once that $500 car payment's paid off, that you now can attack on another debt. Okay.
Well, also too, though, I mean, cut you short. They have to realize one thing too, though. If they're paying towards the principal or the interest, and even though they have that extra money, they have to make sure they apply that in the proper aspect. Because even if you do what you just said, you could give that money to whatever lender that was, and if they don't put that in the right aspect, it's going to go more towards the interest. Is that correct?
No, that used to be the case.
It still is the case in some aspects, because I've dealt with different. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, in some instances, you're right, and they should definitely pay attention. Most of them aren't set up that way anymore. A few are. It used to be that way with mortgages, especially, and that's something that you definitely want to do. Anytime you have a mortgage, you want to make sure you're paying towards that. And then some of the higher interest, second tier kind of auto financing companies out there. So those are still some that you have to worry about in that regard, where you want to make sure, because they have a set payment, but the majority of them don't have a prepayment penalty any longer. So if you want to pay off that loan sooner, you can do that. And just like you said, you do want to be smart and make sure with your creditor that it is being applied to principal, and let them know, and even just jot it on the extra payment to be applied towards principal.
I think
because that'll always help.
I think that's especially true just because one of my family members was paying off a Yukon, and she was doubling up on the payments, and at the end of her thinking that the payments were taken care of, she got this bill saying you still owe $5,000, and it was like, hey, you need to put apply to principal on there. That still holds true. And she said, well, no one ever said that, and now she's still paying, and the funds weren't applied properly, and it's frustrating, especially when you're older or a senior and you don't know, and you're on a budget and you're trying to make ends meet and take care of the things that need to be.
So true, Ms. Please. Can you tell us who you are, sir, and your experience, and why you are giving us this valuable information this evening?
Excellent. Yeah. Actually, as Ms. Please introduced me in the beginning, Dominique Moore. I am the Vice President and Chief Marketing Officer for Appreciation Financial. We're a national financial services company based out of Nevada. And I've been in the industry for, about 15, 16 years. Helping families. I started out in real estate doing loans and mortgages, and back in the late 90s. And, as I got introduced to financial services, I just found it so much more gratifying to be able to help people truly build a financial foundation. And so, I've been able to go out and make sure families get protected. One of the biggest keys to having a strong financial foundation, guys, is life insurance. We don't have enough of that. People want to start saving $200-$300 a month, and that's great. But if you get out there and some drunk driver knocks you out the box, unfortunately, your family could find themselves having to sell the house that you guys bought together, having to change their whole way of life because we don't have proper life insurance. So I think proper life insurance is extremely important to any sound financial plan, and then just building the muscles. Starting to save and stop looking for pie in the sky. There is no such thing. Slow and steady wins the race. Safety and consistency over risk and speculation always wins out.
I like that. Safe and consistency.
That's our motto, safety and consistency.
Now, based on what I'm sorry, go ahead and say that again. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I apologize.
No, I said safety and consistency, never risk and speculation. We've been sold this bill of goods to have risk and speculation, to bet it all, you guys know, being in Nevada, being in Las Vegas, I tell people all the time when they come to visit, look, these big, pretty buildings didn't get here because people win. They get here because the majority of people lose. The majority of people are losing their money.
Always.
And the same thing with those big, pretty buildings down on Wall Street.
Of course,
all these companies. They didn't get this way because they made a bunch of outsiders a bunch of money. They got that way because they made all of their people a bunch of money. Okay? And so we have to invest with insurance. We have to protect our family with insurance. We protect our lives with insurance. It's so important that we have that as our foundation anytime we're going to start to save for our future.
For anyone who wants to call in today, please give us a call at 702-731-1230. And for the people that are in Texas listening for this gentleman today, give us a call outside the calling area. Miss, please, what's that number?
820-820-5528. I woke up this morning and left my bifocals at home. So
Okay.
I can't see
I'm adjusting mine too. I went and saw walking through the mall yesterday and saw some, what do you call the readers I should have picked up. But
hey guys, can I get one last shout out?
Yes, please do. We weren't finished talking to you. I was just telling you I was blind.
Can we get one last shout out? This ain't no black radio station. I'm just teasing. I'm just giving you a hard time. Go ahead, man. I'm just being silly.
No, I didn't know what my time was. I enjoy hanging out with you guys. I love this stuff. We could talk this all day long. But I just wanted to make sure if there was anybody out there that did want a free financial review, just to go to our website, appreciationfinancial.com, and there's a link that they can sign up and ask for a free financial review in their city, and we'll have a rep that can come out and meet with them, or at least do a phone interview with them and give them some ideas and some tips on how they can get their financial house in order.
I have a question for you. How did you guys come up with the name Appreciation? I know when I looked at your website, you guys give a lot back to Clark County School District and to the Clark County community. But what made you choose Appreciation?
That's a great question. Appreciation obviously can mean a multitude of things. When it comes to money, we want our money to appreciate and not depreciate, right?
Right.
Showing people appreciation is something that's very gratifying. And really, our name stemmed from kind of a marketing campaign. We wanted to set out to show our educators that we dealt with in Clark County, and then that spread into all the other cities and counties and states we work in now. We wanted to show them how much we appreciated their service. These public employees that we work with, they go out and they work very hard, and many times they've had more duties and more responsibilities and more criteria that's been stuffed under their job title with less pay. And so we wanted to, in conjunction with partners like yourselves and other businesses in the community, we wanted to show our appreciation. So we did a bunch of different things where we've done magazines where vendors have put in ads and discounts and things like that so that they could come in and get discounts. And really, as we set that out, we had parties where we do giveaways and those things. And as we did that, our guys, our agents, really started to identify with the name Appreciation and the movement of appreciation. And so, Terry, my partner and I, a co-founder, Terry Kennedy, we just decided, hey, we'll just be Appreciation Financial. And we did it, too, because it means we always have to live up to our name.
I love it. I have a question from one of our listeners. He goes by CEO, and he's from Laughlin. He wants to know, should he pay higher interest rate credit cards first, or just the smaller dollar amount owed?
That's a good question. There's no hard and fast rule. Obviously, you want to knock out those higher interest cards first. It just depends on how much you have to pay off, though. If you've got an extra, $300 or $400 a month, and here you have this card that's, only got, $1,000 on it, and it's at 8 or 9% interest, and you've got this other card that's got, $10,000 on it, and it's at, 18 or 19% interest. Unless you have the money to, be able to transfer the debt onto the other credit card, freeing up that extra money could be easy, unless that payment's small. If you don't have to pay a lot on that $1,000, then knock out that higher interest credit card first. It really just depends on what you're looking at. Like we were talking about with the cars. Sometimes you have a car loan where the interest could be low on that car loan, but you may only owe a few $1,000s left on it, and you're paying, that car payment of $450, $500 a month.
So
maybe go ahead and knock that out, because now that's an extra $450 that you have to pay off that debt.
So what about college students? I noticed that, before we let you go, I know college students are always, there's kiosks and tables from Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and they're always trying to get these kids to sign up for new credit cards.
Yes.
And they do. And then they were never taught, many kids are not taught on how to manage money, let alone credit cards. So
No.
they max out cards is what I've seen. Max out their cards. They have no income because they're students. They have no one to pay them off, and now their credit is ruined. When they finally get out of school and they need to reestablish themselves and they start making payments to this, what route should they take to reestablish their credit? Should they do these security cards where you put the money on there?
Yeah, secured credit cards are always a good thing to start with to rebuild. There's a number of different avenues that you can go out there. One of the things that you want to do is anytime that you have an opportunity, again, we were talking about it. I'm not a major proponent of building a big credit dossier, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But I do agree with having to have a few accounts open out there so that you can use it. So there's different things. I mean, there's different phone companies that will report, cell phone companies that may report your card. There's different department stores, definitely prepaid credit cards. So just maybe do a little bit of research on some things that you're already spending on or that you need that you're going to pay off every month, but that they will report to the credit reporting agencies for you. And that can do something to help you reestablish your credit. And then to those kids that are out there and to the parents that are listening to us, no, they do not have education in school. I got it. They gloss over, finance and economics and all that. But here's the deal. Our kids learn the most from us.
True.
They learn as we do, they do. And so it's so important for us today to teach our kids the importance of savings. It's so important for us to tell them when you get to school and that credit card table is there, bypass it.
No, they can't do that, man.
Walk right
There's
by.
too many shiny pins on that table, man.
Yes. And all they see is sneakers and new clothes, and mom and dad don't have to give me money. I've watched a young lady. She was given an Amex card, American Express card, and it was for $50,000. And she didn't know that she had to pay it back. She maxed it out on vacation, on clothes, on
50 grand.
everything. I remember her saying, "Do I have to pay this money back?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, if they gave us money like that, we would all be happy."
Right. The sad part about it, she did all of that in about a month.
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to pay the Amex card off every month. So
Yeah, I know,
they
huh?
don't let you go too long without paying that off. So, that really speaks to the dilemma of so many, beginning students out there is that all of a sudden they get this credit limit, be it 2,500 or in her case, 50,000. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I can only imagine what she got to see her parents do. And so it's important that they just understand, yes, that does have to be paid back. And it does. Your credit starts today. The minute you get a credit card, the minute you have a car payment, any type of obligatory payment, your credit has started. And the clock's ticking and everything's being recorded. The same way we tell our kids, I have a teenage boy who's in high school, and I let him know, hey, from this point, everything counts. You want to go to school? Every grade counts. They
don't believe that. You know what, though? You can say that all day long. I got a knucklehead, too. You know what? You can.
Hey.
They don't believe a word you say until they get a little bit older. They be like, God dang it, Daddy was right. Mama was right. I can't. Look at all these negative things I have on me now. I can't even get rid of it. But that is so true, though. But back to you said something about life insurance policy. Can you give our listeners the difference between some of the life insurance policies, some that people can draw off money from, or things like that, so they'll actually know what they are, please?
Absolutely. So obviously there's, the basic types of life insurance out there. Your first type is term life insurance. Terms, just like it sounds, it's for a specific period of time. It could be anywhere from 5 years to 35 years. It's usually very inexpensive. The premise is that it's going to cover you during your working years and during the years that you're raising your kids. But it's also kind of like renting insurance. If you think about when you rent a home, you could stay there for a year, 5 years. You could stay there for 20 years. And when you move out, at best, you're going to get your deposit back in that home. On most term policies today, you're not going to get a dime back. There are a few out there that have what they call return of premium.
Yes.
A few years back, it was very attractive to do return of premium. Today, it's not nearly as attractive to do return of premium policies. They just aren't. They're not as advantageous, and there's very few of them out there available. The next type of life insurance is permanent, and permanent life insurance falls into a few different categories. You have whole life, universal life, variable life, variable universal life, and really with those, the difference is all are regarding the general or the sub accounts. And what I mean by that is just as you said, there's insurances where you can actually, you're not just paying for the death benefit, you actually are building equity in the policy. Okay, and as you build equity, you pay a little bit more than you would on a term policy, obviously. But not only are you covering the cost of insurance, you have an equity account being a general account in a whole life policy that might be paying you 4 or 5% interest. In a universal life policy that might be paying anywhere from 4 to 6%, in a index universal life, which we are big proponents of, that pay you, could pay you anywhere on average of 6 to 8%, and then variable policies, which actually have mutual funds tied into them, and you can get returns there. And so it's extremely important to look into the different types that are out there. I'll tell you that I'm a big fan of permanent life insurance because, today we see so many baby boomers that are in their 50s and 60s that still have a tremendous amount of obligation between their mortgages that they're still paying on and car payments that they're still paying for, and kids that are in school, both grade school and college, that they're helping to fund. And if anything were to happen to them as breadwinners, those families would take a major financial hit. And so having the proper amount of life insurance there is important. And then there's, again, some vehicles or some different benefits to life insurance from a living standpoint. Because most people, quite honestly, we think of life insurance by its original name, which was death insurance. It was something that your family got if you died.
Right.
And so, it that was kind of morbid, so they changed it to life insurance.
Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you? Call it Grim Reaper aspect, you know what I mean? So
Dom,
absolutely.
Dom, I don't mean to cut our... Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, man. No.
You want...
No.
Don't cut me off. Don't get me
Oh, Lord,
Well,
please.
'cause we
Miss
still-
Please is out the sink, man. I'm going to be honest with you. She's off for a couple of weeks, and she's getting back in the blend. She's a pro, but you know how it is when you got the pro. You shoot that ball, you got to get back warmed up again to realize she's a pro. She's a pro. Don't worry about it. We're all good, and that's probably me being too forceful because we didn't have eye contact.
That's okay.
No, but you were also speaking about certain aspects. What do you think is a good amount of money to pay for a life insurance policy, sir?
For an average person, because
thank you. Yeah.
there's a lot of people that have lots of money here in Vegas that are willing to spend it and, take care of themselves and their family. But there's an average person that can only afford.
So how much Skrilla should we put out?
So, well, let me put it this way. Let me say it like this, because it's insurance, as far as the cost of it, there's so many different variables that all kind of revolve around age and health, okay? But let me say this for you. Let's look at it more like this. The question people need to ask themselves is, how much life insurance on average should I have? Should I carry? Mm-hmm. And what I'll tell you is this, is that if you're a married homeowner with kids, and let's say average male, female, 40 years old, and you think about you've got, your kids have at least, 12 years or more to retire, you need to have at least enough life insurance that will cover your annual income until your youngest child is through high school, okay, has graduated high school. So if I'm making $50,000 a year and I have 10 years left before my youngest child has graduated from high school, then I need to have at least $500,000 worth of life insurance coverage.
I ain't giving them dang fat rat kids all that dang money. I ain't got to work. I ain't got to go to school. Let me get an AMX card so I can spend $50,000. So my dear, $500,000. My parents just died. I got $500,000. I go buy me a Benzo.
So I have a question for that, just because I've taken classes, insurance classes, and one thing that I've seen is that they want you to buy when you're young, because buying $500,000 is only about $35 a month. But when you're in your 40s, you're looking at $200 plus a month to pay for life insurance at $500,000 worth of coverage.
Absolutely. Well, that's again another reason why you probably want to you probably want to call one of our Appreciation Financial reps, so that they can help you understand the right amount and the right type, because there are ways to mitigate those costs. There are ways to make sure that you have enough life insurance, but then also make sure that that money can be used towards, your future. Make sure that you have access to it while you're alive, because that's the biggest thing. Just like we were joking about, and I know it's tongue-in-cheek, but, you do think about, well, man, I don't want to leave $500,000 and I'm not here, But here's the challenge there. We don't only think about life insurance that way. We think about our savings that way. You see, most people, I work with public employees, right? Mm-hmm. And the average public employee is going to retire on about 60% of what they're currently used to working on.
Correct.
Let's say that's $40,000. Mm-hmm. Now, $40,000, that doesn't seem like a lot of money, but in order to generate a $40,000 a year income without that money depleting, you have to have somewhere between $800 and $1.2 million in some type of cash vehicle that's yielding you 4 to 5% interest, so that you can have that $40,000 a year.
So why not create a separate account for investments as opposed to attaching it to your life insurance?
Well, in some ways it may make sense to do that. In other times it may not. We have a big burden that we're kicking. It's like the can we're kicking down the road that we don't talk about. Debt's a big thing, but taxes are the next big thing that we're going to be facing. You and I sitting on this call right now, our tax rate is not going to be anywhere near where it is today.
True.
Right?
A lot of that's
think
true.
About it. The only 2 times in our nation's history that our tax rate was below the 40% where we are today, they just did the Bush rollback or eliminated the Bush tax cuts, mm-hmm. and so I think the top is 37 now. Well, when you think about it, in the Great Depression, it was below 40%. Within 20 years of the Great Depression, you know what the top tax bracket was?
What was it?
94%.
Oh, my goodness.
And it didn't go down to the 70s till in the 1970s, because the powers to be then, and that, by the way, that's when the 401k and the different deferred plans were invented, because they saw the opportunity that if they could defer their income that was being taxed at 70%, they saw a declining tax environment that showed that today they would be in a lower tax bracket. For them, it worked. For them, it made sense.
But who did
today,
it make sense?
Today, we sit in a completely different environment. 20 years from now, we are not going to be in the same tax bracket. I don't care what side of the aisle you sit on. The powers that be know the only way to get our country out of the debt that we're in is to increase our taxes.
Correct.
And there's only a few vehicles that allow you tax advantage on your money when it comes to your savings, and life insurance is one of those last places that you have to do that.
Well, thank you for sharing the information, Dominique. We really do appreciate you coming on the show with us today. It has been a pleasure. And again, before we let you go, let our listeners know how they can get in touch with you in your office.
Again, they can go to appreciationfinancial.com and, send us an email through there, and we'll have an advisor contact you and sit down and give you a free financial review and help you get your family on order. And thank you guys so much for having me on here. It's been a pleasure, and I hope everybody keeps up with their New Year's resolution to get not just physically fit, but financially fit.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, and we'd love to have you on again soon. Take care.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.
Got some knowledge dropped on us today.